break. Make it yours.
Welcome back, everybody. We are here at Worlds Play-Ins, and it is me, Valdez, with Wolf, bringing you our final game of the day, the fourth game of the day, and it is a big one. It is Hanwha Life Esports up against the Red Canids from CBLOL. This is going to potentially determine who can secure a second-place spot. Of course, not going to be determined on this match, but it means so much because these are the two teams right below LNG.
That's right, and you know, if you're going to get that higher seed going into the play-ins bracket, this is going to skip a huge matchup for you. The less you get the show before the group stage, the better chance you have in the group stage, assuming that you make it. So there's a lot of things that are really critical here for Hanwha Life Esports. I think for Hanwha Life Esports as well, it's just re-solidifying the idea that in this group, they are favorites to be top two, right? I don't think most people were putting them as number one. You and I, kind of both broke down the group and we were thinking, okay, LNG number one, Hanwha Life Esports number two. I don't think that's a unique thought that you and I have, right?
Yeah.
But for Hanwha Life Esports to lose to LNG, but then also struggle against Infinity was a little bit worrying yesterday until they bounced back today in that first matchup. And to go 2-0 on the day to end the group with a 3-1, I think is kind of relieving for LCK fans if they're able to pull it off here and make it work.
Yeah, it's definitely a good feeling, obviously, but they are moving on to the Red Canids, and the Red Canids were able to show that, hey, we can get an early lead against a good team, right? They were able to do it up against LNG. Unfortunately, after that, LNG immediately clapped back, and it didn't last for too long, but LNG are an incredibly strong team, as we all know, at least in this play-in so far. So can Hanwha Life have that amount of strength? Can they potentially not fall behind? Because, something that this team gets touted for is their individual strength. You look at Chovy, you look at Deft, and can they potentially even get ahead early and win these laning phases that we all know are so important?
It's so surreal to me to see Kesman on the world stage because he's a coach that's led Hanwha Life Esports throughout the entirety of this year and through ups and downs, right? Hanwha Life Esports being a top 3 team in LCK spring, but then falling down to 8th place in the regular season in summer. And you might be wondering, well, how did they make Worlds then? Well, because of their performance in spring and their miracle run through the gauntlet, where they were one win away from this being T1 today that we're looking at right now and not Hanwha Life Esports. That's how they made their miracle run. And that's a cool story for Kesman as well, who's made some controversial decisions in terms of the jungle, right? In terms of Dudu versus Morgan in the top lane. But what's so interesting about this matchup to me for Red Canids versus Hanwha Life Esports is that Red Canids also finished 6th place in the CBLOL region and were able to fight their way through a very difficult bracket, a very difficult final. So both of these teams really shaking up expectations based on their performances in regular season, and performance on the day at the end where it matters most is the most important.
Yeah, so you would imagine that these two teams would not be scared from the best of ones that they do have to play here, especially one that is so important. As you guys can see, it does look like we have an issue with one of the computers here, so looking to get that solved as soon as possible. And, both of these teams are survivors, the way you put it. And they're here on this stage because they were able to survive through such a, terrifying gauntlet in each of their own regions. And I'm just curious to see who's going to turn up today. Red Canids, they looked pretty frustrated after their loss against LNG, which is understandable because they got such a nice early lead. It just felt so good, right? You get 2 kills and you get the Rift Herald. Like, this is what dreams are made of in the early game. And then just everything fell to the wayside and LNG took over. So
yeah,
maybe they're going to have that fiery revenge in their hearts and take it out on the LCK, on Hanwha Life Esports. As I'm getting an update, guys, that it is a mouse issue. Just looking to get that solved.
That's right. So usually small hardware issues like this are very easy to fix because sometimes you can just simply replace it if it's not fixable in terms of software or anything like that. But going back into that last game you mentioned with Red Canids actually having that lead and then falling behind, it was a game where the composition of LNG allowed them to get explosive picks and blow up single targets with the lethality that they had, right? And going into this series, Hanwha Esports don't play that same sort of style. I don't think we're going to see Chovy on Zed, for example. I don't think that's, I mean, as much as I'd love to, I don't think we're going to go down that path.
We'll see.
But I think the scarier part for Hanwha Esports for Red Canids here is going to be the kind of slow creep up of the Chovy factor, right? How are you going to survive and lane against this guy? He's going to take a CS lead against you, regardless of what champion he's on, very likely, regardless of matchup. How do you cope with that and try to get through a mid-game where you can actually take some early fights? Because I think that's where Red Canids have strength, right, is in the early to mid-game. They can play those skirmishy comps, they can get a lead there, and make sure that Hanwha Esports don't get to coast to the late game. It's not really Hanwha Esports style throughout summer. They're a very aggressive team, actually, in the summer split. But they've moved into a more Gen G-esque style later on, where they're playing very slow towards late game scaling, playing around Chovy's ability to just scale up in terms of CS, get a few picks early, and then have that late game power, have that late game split pushing power with Morgan. That's why his Camille rose to priority so high at the end of the gauntlet. So things like this are things that Red Canids are they want to make sure they have a lead early and actually can continue to snowball that against Hanwha Esports, more so even than they had against LNG, because Hanwha have been playing so slow recently.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a good read. And, you know, we'll just have to wait and see. From what I can tell on stage, guys, it does look like the issue is solved. We got a bunch of fist bumps and stuff like that. So we're just testing settings and looking to get the show on the road. Once again, sorry for the small delay, but really excited for this one. I think it could be a very fiery matchup. We just saw a bit of that with Infinity Esports up against Peace. We had an insane amount of kills, very back and forth. I would not be surprised if we see it here as well. We're getting the focus onto Deft. Him and Vsta actually played very nicely against Peace in their first game of the day. And obviously, another confidence booster for the side of Hanwha Life as well, as it does look like we are just about ready to hop into pick ban.
Looks like it. This is going to be such a critical one for both of these teams. Hanwha Esports to lose here would be a huge upset, put you at, you know, a very, very close 2-2 scoreline. That's not how you want to end your group stage. It means you're going to have to play another match to get into, or rather to play into the groups. You'll have to play that extra match. That's not what you want. You want to get that 3-1. You want to try to soar through this in second place, as we'll once again see that ban on Chovy's LeBlanc. We've seen that not a Chovy exclusive, very popular. The Aurelia taken away too. We'll see if they go for a third solo lane ban here.
Tryndamere, anyone thinking about Tryndamere? Will we see it banned again against Chovy? I think, you know, obviously it can be flexed, but it's definitely something that Chovy has mentioned multiple times in multiple interviews, actually, that he thinks it's an extremely strong pick. Not to the point where you can't win against it, but he thinks that, you know, if it's available, he's probably going to play it. So curious to see what the Red Canids think about that. Maybe they've been practicing their mid-Gragas. Would be interesting to see how they decide to counter it if it does come out.
The Ezreal ban here screams that they want to prioritize Titan into the misfortune role here, I think, because, yes, Deft has played a lot of Ezreal even in this tournament. It's one of his strongest picks towards the end, of course, of summer in the LCK. Scaling pick, but hasn't done very well, actually, in Worlds so far. Very low win rate at the moment, and you know, it feels like they're trying to deny some comfort here. The same goes, of course, with this Gwen ban towards the Red Canids. But if you're going to ban the Ezreal here, it looks like misfortune priorities on the menu. It would be a huge mistake, I feel, to not take that here, even with things like the Kiana available right now, Talon available, the Zed, the jungle picks that have been so highly prioritized, but it will be that misfortune. And now the question becomes, do Hanwha Esports try to deny that Amumu pick that they dominated Peace with?
Yeah, it's pretty rough, and it's a good call, Wolf, because, you know, how can you deny at this point? There's no other support bans, and actually, they're just going to go back to try it and test it, as the Camille gets selected here for the side of Hanwha Esports, probably going to be in the hands of Morgan, and we even have the Taliyah, rather, alongside of that Camille. A nasty duo together can be really hard to play against.
Yeah, it's really, really powerful in terms of how much you can control the side lane. So now if you're Red Canids, you have to really think about this counter pick for the Camille. How do you want to have a side laning champion that's going to be able to put up with the Camille's pressure early, with, you know, basically potentially being camped by the Taliyah, and how you're going to be able to deal with that as the game goes longer, where that side lane pressure becomes even stronger. We're going to leave that towards the second part of the draft here as they lock in the Zhao, and they will get that Amumu that was left open. But going back now to the side of Hanwha Esports, there's a lot of AD champions available that Chovy likes to play if he's given something like the Taliyah. Even the Leona is not out of the question, but to do it blind here would be very bold, and considering Hanwha Esports are not sitting at a 3-0, they're at the 2-1 in this group. This is such a critical match. I think you hold off on that for now. They'll lock in the rare Kai'Sa here for Deft.
Very interesting. Kai'Sa, definitely a pick that you kind of know for, you know, you have a big team fight, somebody lands some hard engage, she hops into the back line and wreaks havoc, right? But actually the repositioning effect of her ultimate can be used at times to get you to safety. Not sure if he's going to be able to do it on time against this really insane combo that we already have on the side of Red Canids, but we will have to see. Very short range. I don't think it's going to do very well in the lane at all against what we are looking at with the MF and Amumu. But we'll see what Hanwha have up their sleeves, as we do have Kennen banned here away from Guigo. Yeah. And the Yone away from Chovy.
The Yone was talking about something that Chovy has played so much with the Taliyah. We talked about it in that Peace series. We might just also see the Yasuo come along with it, but the thing about the Kennen pick here is that it's one of the most common responses in the LCK to this Camille, because yes, you might struggle in terms of the side laning later on, but you can do okay in the early game if you can hit those stuns, the Q buff that came a long way, a little way back, but you also have the ability to team fight better than a Camille often with that. So just removing the Rise, which could be such a great counter to this pressure that you're going to see on the top side with the Camille and the Taliyah. With Weaver's Wall, you have essentially a pseudo-global with this pick, and if you have a Rise to match that rotation, you don't get that same power in that top matchup. We don't know what the matchup will be just yet, but it's a great ban here onto Grevthar.
Now, Chovy could wait. They could go ahead and pick their support here and save counter pick. The Leona is available, not banned away on the side of Red Canids because they're so scared of Chovy's AD picks for a good reason, right? You already have the safety jungler in here. We don't want to see yet another AD mid laner that Chovy is extremely well versed on. So they try to ban out as many as possible. That means that Vsta is able to get his hands on the Leona pick. And what is going to be the follow-up here? We saw Jax out of LNG.
There it is.
The Tryndamere and the Aurelia, I believe it was.
Yeah.
And we're going to see it again here from the side of Red Canids.
I mean, Jax did so well for LNG because that was an AD composition purely for Hanwha Esports. Shut down Deft's Ezreal extremely well around objectives. This is a very completely different draft where you have that magic damage from Willer. And we also could still see Chovy end up playing something like the Azir. Now, I really like this Twisted Fate. It's an alternative option, right, versus the Rise in terms of dealing with that Weaver's Wall pressure on the top side of the map. Don't think we're going to be seeing Nami here. That would have been, you know, I'd love to see Chovy play mid Nami, but the Azir is still an option here, and you can threaten the Twisted Fate. You have kill pressure there, but the Sylas is extremely strong. You can actually steal Twisted Fate's ultimate, then use it to match that rotation as well without utilizing your teleport. It's a kind of one of the oldest tricks in the book, right? To follow that Twisted Fate with the Sylas. It's crazy it went all the way through this draft. It's one of the best, you know, AP champions for Chovy there in the mid lane.
Absolutely. I was thinking that Chovy was going to pick up the TF, especially after the Rise ban, but the Sylas, after seeing the TF, makes a lot of sense, and we do see it come through here. And not only is it a fantastic pick into the TF, but Chovy, you know, we can say this about a lot of his picks, but Sylas is one of these ones where he has been known to just take off on a jet plane and solo carry. So can he do it here again against the Red Canids? Very curious to see, as he'll definitely be looking to put on a lot of pressure in that mid lane.
Very, very exciting stuff here. The tension is high in the world stage right now. This is such a pivotal match for both of these teams. And Grevthar, rising star here in the CBLOL region, picked up by Red Canids just for playoffs, ended up picking up multiple MVP wins in that grand finals. He was one of the star players, one of the reasons why they're here. And now he faces off against the most famous mid laner in play-ins. in Chovy, one of the stars that is rising around the world. The name Chovy, nobody doesn't know who he is anymore, even though he's a play-ins player right now. Part of the reason why people were so excited to see Hanwha Esports was to see Chovy dunk on, you know, some of these emerging regions, and I think Grevthar might give him a run for his money here. This matchup between the Twisted Fate and the Sylas can definitely be one that absolutely goes Sylas favored if the Twisted Fate makes some mistakes, uses some gold cards at inopportune moments. That's when Chovy will strike, and that's where it can be so terrifying. So this is going to be a good one, Valdez.
This is the big final shebang from Group A in the play-ins today. And I'm really excited that we get to be here, you and I, Wolf, and get to do this game.
30 seconds until
we definitely feel like Red Canids could come in here and pick up a win, but Hanwha Life looking intimidating as well after they absolutely stomped Peace earlier today.
And it was with the, you know, Amumu support in the bottom lane. This time they play against it, so we'll see how they end up performing here. The mention that you had earlier about Deft's ability to ult into these team fights just feels so incredibly strong when you think about this composition now that it's completed. With Chovy's ability to go into team fights, right? Set up those stuns and just dive right in. FLICKR can, of course, ult in. You've got Morgan's Hextech Ultimatum and the Solar Flare. If I'm Titan in this game, I am so terrified. You better take that cleanse. He did. But still, even one cleanse isn't going to be enough. I mean, yeah, there's a decent amount of peel here between the Amumu, obviously the gold cards that you're going to have, and this Zhao. But positioning is going to be everything, and if you overstep for just one moment, your cleanse is gone, you overstep a second time, and all your damage, your consistent range damage is gone for Red Canids here. So important Titan's performance here on this misfortune.
Yeah, absolutely, and likewise for the bottom lane of Hanwha Life, I feel like Deft in this lane, especially against Arcane Comet MF, which you do see, it's going to be rough. You're going to get zoned away a lot. You're going to take a lot of poke damage here. He's doing a nice job of actually clearing the wave faster than Titan is, so having some luck with that. Should hit level 2 first, and that will certainly help him out with that. As FLICKR, you know, one thing to mention is his jungle pathing from game 1 against Peace, where he went level 3, got red buff, did Raptors into blue, got level 3, and then he went bot immediately. And that was after Deft and Vsta were able to put on the hurt at level 1. We'll see if he tries to replicate that here in this game against the Red Canids.
Yeah, it's a really good thing to point out. You know, his start solo means that obviously Deft can clear quickly, as you mentioned before. It's a really nice pathing to take here, and the threat that you have with this Leona is similar to what you have with the Amumu, but there's an Amumu on the other side, so I don't think he'll be able to commit as heavily there on the bottom side of the map. Meanwhile, Guigo actually doing quite well here against Morgan in this early game. It's a pretty even start. It looks like he's not going to be alone. Grevthar taking the long walk, but that's such a valuable ward.
Yeah, Red Canids were like, oh, who's the weak link on Hanwha Life? I guess it's Morgan. And they're all going to be coming up here on top of the ward. The teleport comes in immediately from Chovy. And it looks like the Red Canids will actually respect that and not commit to their level 3 roam to the top side. That was pretty scary.
That was such a sick macro play too, because look at the CS that Chovy is losing in mid as that wave is just under turret range, and I don't think you're getting a pick here.
Here we go, they're gonna get the teleport down on the bottom side, but this time it's looking a little bit more dangerous for Hanwha Life as Jojo's leading the charge, but the damage is actually coming out from Deft as another teleport comes in though, as the flash is good from Guigo. He's gonna be able to get both of them with the counter-strike. As now, with the follow-up, Deft has nowhere to go and nowhere to hide. Guigo will take him down on top of the kill to Taliyah. So wow, Red Canids coming in hot in the bottom lane.
Now this is going to cost Grevthar a lot of farm, but he'll be happy to take a kill and an assist for the trade. And the really cool thing about this is it's all a setup plan, because when you go look at the top side play, you've walked up there, so you get to keep teleport. You know that Chovy can't match your teleport bottom because he had to use it top. You have a lot of power here. You know the gank is coming. You remember it from last game, and if FLICKR wasn't top, he's going to be here. And this is so critical, actually, and they're able to get that trade back kill here as Deft. Because without that, you feel really terrible about this scenario. He's going to end up going down here anyway at the end of the day. But this is such a great macro play. The trade-off, though, is the CS.
Morgan is able to buffer it, but it doesn't matter when there's 3 of them in the top lane. Morgan is trying to survive. They're going to force a flash as we got action in the mid lane as well. Chovy trying to tank it up, and the damage is there, but Willer gets traded on, and Teton isn't done just yet. He's got that strut and was thinking about it, but Chovy able to get over the wall. At least he gets to safety, but man, there's so much action on this map.
That's going to mitigate a lot of the CS deficit there that Grevthar had mid to push Chovy out of lane. You could see that Teton is actually just going to hover mid for a little while himself to pick up some of the slack there. He's also finding himself behind in CS, but the kills are coming through as Morgan is collapsed on twice in this game.
Oh, Ignite, he's looking for it. The kill on the Guigo, and he's going to get it. Guigo this time not respecting it. He picked up his own sheen. He's like, well, I must be really powerful now. Loses his counter-strike, and immediately Morgan strikes back.
Without the counter-strike there, you're not going to be able to compete. Aegis now coming up here to pick up the slack as jungles are just on cleanup duty after what has been a 7 kills in 6-minute game. Less than 6 minutes, I should say. As Morgan has a level advantage because Guigo spent so much time on the bottom side of the map. That level advantage really helps out here. As you see this commit onto Grevthar, gets the gold card up here and dodges.
You see him dodge that seismic shove? That was insane.
The guy is extremely talented. I really am so glad he's actually here, and he got picked up for playoffs, and he's being played here, you know, against Chovy, right? I mean, this is the dream for play-ins, right? If you're a rookie player like Grevthar, you can go all the way to the top. And yes, he's 13 CS down on Chovy, but who isn't down on CS against Chovy?
Yeah, I mean, the early game was just absolute chaos, so, you know, CS be what it may.
The macro plays from Red Canids have been really cool and clearly well prepared. The problem is that all of these rotations have ended up costing them big in terms of farm and in terms of some of the gold that we're seeing. Like, yes, Morgan is down a kill, but he ended up getting a lot of power there. It cost some CS there for Vigo in the top lane. Willer is going to help clear up this dragon. It's going to be first rate going over to Hanwha Esports. Chovy's lead is starting to be pretty insane. The experience lead he has means he has level 6 first, so you've got to be careful about him stealing that destiny away. Everyone needs to be all eyes on where Chovy is and when he's going to use that hijack, this level 6 timing.
Yeah, just going to hold on to it for now. Not going to use it just in case a gank comes in. He can use that Zhao ultimate to get safety. And with that, he's actually walking pretty deep into the enemy jungle. That ward is so lucky. Like, it's right in between those 2 control wards.
Yeah. And
it's going to get him some good value, actually. A couple of defensive control wards from Red Canids. Not able to spot that one is pretty unfortunate. As we're getting a closer look here. Even Vsta's going to roam up to the mid lane, clear one out. He's thinking about it, but not going to take the risk of going into the enemy jungle and clearing the second one.
We've talked a lot about the chaos. We've talked about, you know, the advantages that Morgan's been able to gain, Chovy's CS lead, but we haven't really touched on the bot lane, which is Deft just absolutely forcing Teton out of lane. We saw Deft gap in that P series. He's doing it again here. There's the hijack. Got to be so careful right now as Aegis because you're between a rock and a hard place. Morgan was heading down, and Chovy could be there in a moment's notice. Ooh, clearing that ward is pretty brave. He will get out here, but that was a risky moment.
Just Zhao things. Willer coming on over, and he is going to start this one up. No ping on it just yet, but I think he started it right after the ward went down, so I have a decent idea what's going on here as the rotation is coming up from Deft and Vsta. Chovy with the Destiny if he needs it. He's going to give a little bit of breathing room at least for Teton to do anything to CS down on the bottom side, but getting this is pretty nice. As now we have the Destiny here on this one, but Chovy is right in front. Trying to stop this, trying to knock Aegis away, and it will be enough as they do get the eye. As in comes Aegis, trying to look for a little bit more. Morgan is going to be frontlining. Here comes Willer. That wall does absolutely nothing, but it is going to buy some time for him to get in position. Yellow card comes in, but now look at Chovy and Vsta going wild. Vsta picks up the double kill somehow on this one, and Willer has set up vision behind Grevthar, who has no mana. And Deft just alone down here on the bottom side, but he will survive.
He will survive here, and, you know, they decide they're not going to drop the Rift Herald just yet. There was an opportunity with 3 grouped up. Actually, while I say that, here's a teleport in there. In fact, going to drop it. Willer says, you know what, this is just a free full plates of turrets. First brick over to us. Well, a lot of consideration here about dropping it, but they are not going to commit, in fact. But either way, the advantages you have here as Hanwha Esports are really starting to balloon because you have such a late rotation over as Red Canids. You could see that they decided to do it based on the fact that Deft rotated back to lane. And when we went back to, or if you look back at that moment where Deft is coming up, it's very LCK-esque. You can see he's leaving now as he's just not able to get there. But the thing I want to mention about this team fight is that Hanwha Esports expected this rotation. It didn't come. And they still were able to react to the delayed rotation over so quickly because Chovy was here first that you have so much CC as Hanwha. You can turn this around. Morgan gets out of this fight so easily. And as you mentioned, Chovy,
Vsta.
This is a champion he can carry on. Vsta sets up the stuns. And they're going to hold on to this Rift Herald a little bit longer, but when you see Deft rotate up like that and then leave, he's like, oh, this isn't the LCK. We don't have 10 people on every first Rift Herald. I guess I'll go back to lane.
Yeah.
And that's when Red Canids see the opportunity to go in, but it's just a little bit too slow.
It was a really cute seismic shove as well from Willer, which made Aegis make the decision of, well, I can try to commit in here. I'm probably not going to get the smite. Or do I fight with my teammate up north? So Willer was actually able to win that kind of mind fight and pick up the Rift Herald as well, and then join the fight with his Weaver's Wall. So really cute stuff on the Taliyah. Gotta love it. And Vsta, casually, the most bloodthirsty support I think we've had so far. Shout out to Doa. And yeah, I mean, he's 3-0. He picked up a double kill on that last one, and he is... I just love him because he has a stopwatch.
Yeah.
It's perfect.
It's your favorite thing, for those who don't know. It's Valdez's favorite thing, or least favorite thing, depending on the situation.
Best item in the game.
Grevthar taking a lot of damage.
Jojo was there. That was close. But Chovy is going to sidestep it.
He was 2 levels up, you know, and he's got 3 Dark Seal stacks, a little bit of extra AP coming through, but Chovy's the type of player who, if you give him just an inch like that to trade, he will trade and get out without flash, with no fear, even though he knows Jojo is there. And he's like, yeah, you know, whatever, that's 2/3 your health bar. We're gonna have to regen that up.
The shot is going to miss. We're still gonna drop this Rift Herald though, as it does come down, and here comes the Destiny, but Guigo is so low, he doesn't have his ultimate. Oh, he's not going to be able to survive there. As you see, Aegis now trying to survive. They're trying to get this damage onto Morgan, and they finally do, but man, the Red Canids solo laners are just not quite as fed, and they finally get the 1 kill, but it's a 2-for-1, and the plays in favor of Hanwha, and Chovy has a free lane.
Yeah, Chovy has a free lane. He's already ahead in CS. He's just trying to crash waves in. Here comes an engage from Vsta.
Okay, they're going to try to make this happen. That's a lot of damage on a Jojo. Look at this support go, Vsta. There are no brakes on this train, as he will finally go down. That's why you should probably put brakes on the train. Here's a teleport that's coming on in. Grevthar getting jumped on, not able to survive against the Kai'Sa, as now Morgan's getting into the fun. Gonna miss on that one. But it's fine because I suppose Deft is going to flash the wall and look for the kill on a Titan and take him down for the double kill. Now 4-1.
You can see Titan really frustrated there on the player cam as he goes down here. He's low on mana, doesn't have the ability to fight this out. We're not done fighting yet, apparently, as Aegis is going to get pushed away. But Deft has the Noon Quiver and the Serrated Dirk. That's all he's got in this moment. But he knows it's enough to kill a Twisted Fate if he ults in. Like, this is the star power of Deft, the experience of a player who's been in Worlds on multiple teams, playing in this play-in here, and he's dominating.
Well, Chovy, he is gonna flash, and you know what? Yeah, with the Kingslayer, he's like, nope, you guys don't have anti-heal just yet. I'm totally fine.
Usually it's Willer who's kind of carrying and doing all the grunt work for Chovy, but Chovy's doing the grunt work for Willer here, because that's going to guarantee them a drink. Yeah, and like, Vsta, by the way, I think often overshadowed by LCK fans by supports like Keria, right? You know, supports like Barrel in the past, but and even Life, honestly. But he has grown up so much this season. Morgan!
Just to add to the little bit of fiesta that we have in this game, Morgan's just going to go ahead and face check. Good job by the Red Canids. They clear out all the vision in the river, and that is a free kill for them.
Well, now, you know, that's a little bit of extra gold going over to this Misfortune who so desperately needs it. She's about to finish her call as well, so they're going to be big moments for her in terms of getting that money over. Yes, even though there's a whiff here on the Solar Flare, the damage is real here for Deft, and yes, teleport comes through, but Deft's like, I've got the items. I can actually 1v2 this. teleport comes through, but like, it doesn't matter. It's more fighting in.
Here we go. They tried to get onto Vsta. By the way, he has stopwatch, guys. Called it out before. Now Chovy's going into 4, though, as he is somehow going to survive and try to turn it around with that Everfrost. Not quite the cleanest fight we've ever seen, as Red are trying to get on in there. Now Deft trying to 1v1. Not sure about this, buddy. Maybe a little bit overconfident on that, assuming the rest of the Red Canids had left. And that might just be the second Rift Herald over to the Red Canids.
I mentioned it in the Peace series, or game rather. I mentioned, I think it was mentioned by everybody yesterday. But Hanwha Esports have a bit of a tendency here in play-ins to, with a lead, overextend, play with their food a little bit. It's not the first time we've seen Deft get caught. We've seen Chovy get caught several times, and Red Canids very happy to pounce on the opportunity, knowing Deft doesn't have cleanse. Pick him off here. That's a huge amount of shutdown gold going over to the Canids here. Save this turret just barely. And they're still hanging in this game. Yes, they have objectives stacked against them. Yes, they are dealing with a huge deficit in terms of the mid lane. But oftentimes, Twisted Fate, not about the damage, it's about his ability to set up CC, and that's still a thing. That's still something that he will be able to do consistently later on in this game. I'm just so concerned about, if Red Canids' old game plan is to hope the Hanwha Esports to overextend. Yes, that might happen once every blue moon, but you're going to need more than that. You're going to need to win a real team fight here, perhaps even on this Infernal Soul point fight. And doing that right now with the items they don't have, it's going to be such a tall order, and they're going to lose this top turret eventually. Now, finally, they didn't drop the Rift Herald earlier, crashed him, but they didn't get the turret, and now Morgan's happy to sweep up the last pieces.
Yeah, even going to deny some of those melee minions. Not bad, not bad. As the biggest surprise for me in the gold difference was actually how, Chovy's just going to steal that, and it's actually that Chovy's only 200 gold ahead of the TF that he's about 60 CS ahead of. And again, it's a lot of assists, it's a lot of kills to the side of TF, and it's TF. So he's got a way to get some extra gold. But it means that, Chovy isn't as ahead as it looks in the CS department. I mean, well, in the CS department he is, but overall. And so, will be interesting to see if Grevthar can get some stuff done, as we do have the second Rift Herald drop down in the bottom side. Chovy looking to actually continue fighting, not scared of this. As the Solar Flare comes in, and Jojo just says, nope, don't want to deal with that, I'll flash away.
We'll just barely save the turret here. You see Chovy alone, 1v2, and a Rift Herald dropped, and you walk the other way because you know Chovy's going to buy tons of time. You know Vsta's in the vicinity. They get a flash away there from Jojo, which is pretty massive because that's something that he can use as an initiation tool to pick off somebody like Deft if they're able to get that cleanse, right? But now it's down. Small advantages across the board here for Hanwha Esports in that regard, but I mean, the farm is starting to get out of control as Chovy and Deft are racing to 200 here. That almost tied, 169, 168, and right now as Red Canids, this is not a game where you could just sit back and go, well, we'll just outfarm this, we'll just wait for the late game, we'll scale it up, because that's not this kind of game, This is not the Jax that we saw from Ale against Hanwha Esports that just blocked all of Deft's damage and started to carry the game despite a weak laning phase. This isn't that type of game. You can't just sit back and wait. You're going to have to take a decisive fight here on this Infernal Soul point. If you can't win this one, winning the game is almost out of the question. This is it. Make or break, right? This is the moment here for Red Canids.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can see that they're not messing around with this one. They're all waiting in this brush. They're trying to clear out as much vision as possible. And in terms of the map state, even though Red Canids are grouped up here, they still have pressure on the bottom side because the Jax is in a good spot right now. Even with that extra attack speed to, push Morgan out of the lane. So even though Chovy's in the top side, he doesn't have teleport yet. It's like, okay, just came up right now.
There he comes.
So here they go. As the Weaver's Wall will come in, but the Xingqiao turnaround is huge as the damage from the MF does basically nothing, but they kite it back. And Red Canids have the damage here. The Jax in the front line now going extremely deep, but you have the follow-up from Jojo as well as Grevthar. A super close fight as so many low health bars on the side of Hanwha, and Red Canids are just looking to chase them down. Not going to get any more kills under their belt, though. And so even though there are so many low health bars, Red Canids not able to take a significant position on the Infernal Drake.
Yeah, Titans, both summoners down. There's no way to go in here and continue the fight, and that means the Drake doesn't go over to them. Hanwha Esports actually stay here, will clear these wards up and actually go for the clear themselves. Teleport's going to the top lane here, actually, right now for Grevthar, so he's not going to come in here and try to contest despite the ward being here. You know you don't have any other support, but this means that not only do Hanwha Esports trade up 2-1 in the fight, but they still get that Infernal Soul point. But this was a little bit sloppy. I was really worried, actually, here for Hanwha Esports when they just kind of face-planted into this fight and this new Axe Effect replay, because this is the moment where when you go into this fight, as Hanwha Life, you actually give Red Canids the distance that they struggle to close. Actually, you've given it to them by just kind of directly going into this, but Willer survives just barely. Deft is fended up and has the cleanse to get out of the situation and survive, and they actually end up trading up here. Could have just left Chovy to get that top turret, push for the inhibitor, and say, hey, we're already up 2. Can't fault it too much because it worked out, but it was a heavy risk, and Red Canids still couldn't pull it off.
Yeah. Side of Red Canids, I mean, they have a pretty nice way to protect their MF, right? There are multiple ways. You consider the Camille, you consider the Kai'Sa, the Sylas, right? To access the backline and the squishy underbelly that is the MF of this composition. But then you consider, you know, the Amumu's there. You put down the Curse the Sad Mummy. You have the TF for the gold card. You have the Zhao, you push everybody away. Even the Jax counter-strike right there. So Hanwha Life have to be careful about extending too deep if they don't have a sure kill onto one of the carries like a TF, like an MF. And even then, you got to be careful, especially if the MF is available. Big bullet time can just wreck your entire team because you're not overall super tanky. And, you know, you see some stopwatches here and there, but even like a Zhonya's just yet for Chovy not really online. So it's not too much armor that's been built against the lethality of the MF just yet. So this is like a really crucial and kind of edgy time. I guess edgy isn't the right word, but it's kind of like on a knife's edge where this could be the moment where in the next 2 or 3 minutes, if Red take a good fight, they could actually win it.
Oh yeah, no, there's a lot of volatility here for sure. My kind of alternative way of saying what you said is basically saying like they need to win that fight, right? They need actually that to push, you know, Hanwha Life Esports off the knife's edge. They need that incredible team fight. They need Hanwha Life Esports to make a small mistake. They need to funnel them into a choke point. Like these are things, part of what I'm saying is out of their control, but Red Canids need to be ready to grab those opportunities if they arise. If Hanwha Life Esports play the rest of this game out perfectly, don't make any mistakes, don't extend, then it is going to be very difficult. As you can see, they're already clearing away tons of this vision right now. They're starting to really grab onto the game. As Deft is now 2 items completed, extremely fed. Chovy's starting to come alive. He's got his 2nd item up. This is where the Camille starts to split push, right? And the Jax that isn't fed this game is 3-4-2. He's doing all right. Guigo can't really keep up with that if there's a rotation in from Chovy at any moment in time. The collapsing power with the Weaver's Wall makes it very difficult to compete. Because yes, you do have Destiny for Grevthar to try to match that, but if you don't have that available or he's too far away because he's also trying to side lane, then you don't feel safe as Guigo to be out there. So getting control of the vision on the map is so difficult, and that's what you need to try to look for those picks on this soul fight. I mean, it's just, things have really started to snowball away from Red Canids and getting back into this game. If they couldn't do it on that last Drake fight, it gets really, really hard. The next 2 fights are going to be much more difficult. Hanwha Life Esports not just going to be running at you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you described it best when you said it's just really volatile, because there is a way where Red Canids, you find the right rotation, you find the right pick, you get an important member, let's say Morgan, you stop his split push, all of a sudden the map is wide open. You're 5v4, you can clear some vision, you can threaten Baron, maybe you go for some turns. Even if you are behind, this game is still open to either side. As you see Red Canids, they're just going to try to group up in the mid lane for now. They will have to deal with Morgan in the side lane eventually. But for now, just trying to keep vision around this Baron. Unfortunately, the scan is going to miss the ward behind that wall as they're trying to get on top of Vsta here. He's just going to try to flash and doesn't have his aftershock. Finally he does, and that will be enough to keep him alive. As now Chovy and Morgan get a massive flank teleport behind the entire team as Aegis is a little bit too low, and even the MF gets hunted down by Morgan, and that's all that Hanwha Life needed to open up this game.
I mean, Vista's got his aftershock, he's got Eclipse. I mean, it's so difficult to kill a Leona. It's the worst target to try to pick, but as we mentioned, you've got to do something. You've got to take your opportunities where you find them. And with the teleport advantage that Chovy's got, he can wrap around. Morgan can get in there too. And what was a really proactive play for Red Canids might have sealed their fate here in this group stage. they're not going to be out if they lose this by any means, but it's going to be, you know, a 1-2, and it's not a great place to be right now. But Hanwha Esports, with this turn, just proved that they can take almost any skirmish and turn it into their favor. The positioning of Vsta there looked like a liability, but it's almost like a carrot dangling from a stick because Red Canids have to play for something. And Hanwha Esports are the type of team that will take that scrappy fight 10 out of 10 times if you give them the opportunity and they have those teleports available. This means the timing of this attempt means that they don't have the group up to actually contest this Drake. So that's a free Infernal Soul, and that is like the nail gun that's going to fire the last nail in the coffin here for Red Canids' ability to come back, because that volatility you talked about, the opportunities to get picks and turn this around, I mean, with a miracle, you could still pull it off here, but the variance level has gone pretty low now. Hanwha Esports in firm control.
Yep, absolutely. And you see Grevthar is trying his best to do some split pushing. He knows that he can't help stop the onslaught of the Red Bull Baron power play from the side of Hanwha Esports. It's just going to balloon extremely fast and furiously. And as you mentioned, I mean, Infernal Drake on any of these champions is going to be huge, as trying to get the root here. Chovy is going to miss literally everything, but he has another stun, as that will be enough to get down Grevthar. Willer says, thank you for the kill. I will secure that for you. Nice teleport from Chovy. Really doing good work there.
Grevthar and Titan have both shown a lot of emotions in this game, and you could feel the frustration. Remember the last match against LNG kind of slipped through their fingers, the lead they had this game. They had really nice early aggressive macro plays that were clearly planned, right? The early game from Red Canids, even though it didn't hold that thought,
they're going in. They're going to beat out that bullet time, and Deft, he's considering it, you can tell, but he's not going to go in for it, even with Morgan nearby.
But, you know, like I was saying, I mean, this is a team that has come so close now twice in a lot of ways. This one not obviously as close as the LNG game because they fell apart a little bit earlier and didn't have the same sort of lead. But it feels like so close in a lot of these scenarios. I mean, you could see how great Grevthar is at dodging these skill shots, dodging these stunts, but he can't pull it off.
Okay,
here we go.
Into that backline. Jojo gets a huge ultimate, but look at Chovy just rip through the entire front line with that stolen bullet time, and that is going to be enough to put the nail in the coffin. Hanwha Esports will be winning this game as they take down the enemy jungler. Hanwha Esports will end up in this group of the play-in stage at 3-1 after they take down the Red Canids right here.
They firmly put themselves in pole position for that second place spot. Second highest seed you can get going into that final match to put yourself in the group stage. Hanwha, bit of a rocky start against LNG, their Infinity Esports game. Not as clean as you would have hoped, but their last two games tonight are the ones that the fans wanted to see. The Hanwha fans, the Chovy fans who wanted to see 100 CS leads, wanted to see Deft doubling twice, back-to-back, the opponent 80 carries CS line. These are things you don't see in a world championship. These are leads that are unheard of in pro play. And Deft is reminding everyone why he is a multi-time LCK champion, why he is a player who's spent so much of his career circling the globe, traveling to Worlds, and Chovy, back-to-back Worlds appearances for him. He's finally hitting those strides that we wanted to see. And yes, this is a weaker opponent than LNG, and yes, they are likely to get out of this group second. But I think there's been an evolution here for Hanwha Esports and for Red Canids. They look so crushed. 2 games back-to-back against the toughest opponents in the group. They had nice leads. They had a great game plan coming in, but it just wasn't enough.
Absolutely. Shout out to the Red Canids. Definitely putting up a good fight today. This was never going to be an easy day for them. I mean, LNG and Hanwha Esports, it's almost asking too much. But I was really impressed by a lot of their plays. It was actually really fun to cast their games as well. So shout out to them and to all of their fans. Hanwha Esports with the 3-1. I was actually really impressed by Willer in this game. After all of that, you know, Chovy and Deft were kind of doing their thing. I thought Vsta also was pretty fantastic, but I feel like Willer's really coming into his own now. He's got some of these play-ins games under his belt, and he feels pretty comfortable, so it was very nice to watch. But that's going to do it for me and Wolf on Worlds today, guys. There is more Worlds, 4 more games, in fact, here for the play-ins, so make sure you're tuning in for that. But first, we're going to take a quick commercial break, so don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Make or break. Make it yours. Make or break. Make it yours.
Welcome back to the State Farm Analyst Desk, where it's Hanwha Life Esports that comes away with the victory over the Red Canids and Kai'Sa. I'm going to come to you first on this one because, in all seriousness, it did look like this game could have gone either way based on the way it got started, with a couple of early plays going the way of the Canids, but ultimately it fell out of favor for them. Your take?
Yeah, so I think this was sort of death by a thousand cuts. And what I mean by that is Grevthar, I thought, had a great game where he was really involved with side lanes. He was constantly using his ult and his TP. It felt like on cooldown to try to turn 2v2 scenarios into 2v3s and so on. But I think Chovy was just way more efficient. And I think this is a product of not just Chovy's individual play, him focusing on staying in lane, getting tower plates, and only leaving lane when he's really sure that he's going to be able to have an impact, but also the effect that Willer was able to have in virtue of him having Taliyah and having hit a semi-global in his own right. So I think this was a team loss. Like, I think HLE just showed that they were the better team, but I think in terms of the mid lane matchup, Grevthar's involvement with side lane came at a heavy price.
Well, from here I'll turn to you, Goldberg, because I know preceding this match, this was one you actually felt that the Red Canids could win.
It was so close.
So from your perspective, what went wrong?
I mean, okay, so let's just to start from the beginning of it. I actually think, while Kai'Sa is right that Hanwha Life Esports had a Chovy, I actually think the lane rotations in the beginning coming out from Red was essentially very good, going up towards that top side, punishing Morgan. I actually think Amumu had really good roams around the map as well, where being up towards the top side. But it's once we reach that mid game, once again, where it starts falling off. You can see it on the curve as well, on the goal difference over time. Once you reach that 20-minute mark, it's so much easier for Hanwha Life Esports to really take control. And I think they've really struggled with was the objectives as well. They never got a Drake really beforehand, so it was super easy for Hanwha Life Esports to stack it. And I think especially down towards the bottom side of the map, during the laning phase, Deft and Vsta just had way more priority move around here towards this extra objective, and it made it very hard for Brazil. They were so close, and I still believe in them, but it's going to take some time.
No, they definitely impressed again with some of the early action that they took, and we saw again, Kai'Sa, a number of stabs by the Canids to find a way into the game. But to me, this almost rings true to the old, the old way we used to view Korean teams, in that you can do as much as you want, create as much action as you want around the map, but when Chovy's going to go deathless, nearly flame horizon his opponent, and in the meantime, they're picking up all 4 Drakes, I just don't see how it ultimately becomes winnable for anybody.
It doesn't. I mean, at that point, what you're dealing with is just a better macro team with one of the best mid laners in the world. And it's really difficult because this is sort of a narrative that we've seen time and time again with teams from major regions versus teams from the emerging regions. Generally speaking, from a mechanical perspective, yes, there's a gap, but it's not necessarily enormous. Where it comes from is efficiency with objective control and understanding what team fights to take and which ones not to take. So it was really, really difficult when you see that Chovy's 90 CS up, despite Grevthar having a really great game, to see a way for Red Canids to be able to close this out.
All right, well, real quick, Goldberg, one more question to you. Is this the Hanwha Life Esports? Are they at full power? They tripped up yesterday. Have they finally arrived at Worlds?
They still haven't, because we still see some slip-ups here. Def getting caught out in the mid lane, them being a bit too, I mean, I don't want to call it ego, but they definitely have some mistakes around the map where they get picked off where they really shouldn't. And it is giving their opponents some extra breathing room. It's what went wrong from them in LNG, and we're still seeing signs of it.
Another victory for the Korean squad here at Worlds 2021. We're going to step away, and when we come back, we'll get to listen in on some in-game chatter with Bo's Sounds of the Game.
Make or break. Make it yours.